solid to a liquid. When a solid turns into a liquid, it's melting. That's basically what's happening. Is the the energy is kind of like they can't move, so it's kind of low, and the molecular motion is kind of low because they can't move, and the intermolecular distance, or the molecular distance, is also really low because they, can't move really. But when it turns into a liquid, the energy is going really fast, and then those bonds break, and then the liquid particles are just like kind of going over each other and just like swishing around and stuff. So that's kind of what's happening when you melt something. It's called melting, and it's the phase. Well, there's two phases. There's the solid phase and the liquid phase. Right now, it's going into the liquid phase and melting, yeah. Liquid to a gas. When a liquid turns into a gas, it's called vaporization. Basically, what's happening is if you apply heat to a liquid, it will turn into a gas. So what's happening is the energy in the liquid is going really fast, that the particles break and they just like spread, and then they start bouncing off each other. That's going into the gaseous stage of matter, and basically the molecular motion is really low because they like have to go like boing, 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 and the molecular distance is really, really, really far compared to the solids. So basically, yeah, the temperature rises during the phase change, and you just have to apply heat. So it's like cooking noodles. You apply heat, yeah. And to turn it into a gas, I think it has to be boiling to turn it into a gas. So yeah. Gas to a liquid. If you let your boiling water cool down a little, then it will start to condensate. Condensation is basically when the bonds of a gas are floating apart freely. It's cooling down and it's kind of putting them back together. And condensate is like fog. Like when you breathe on a window and the foggy stuff shows up, that's condensation. Or when you're putting boiling water in a pot, and when you take it out, or when you have gloves on or something, it feels kind of foggy and watery. That's called condensation. So that's basically when the gas particles are just, they're waving around, bouncing off each other, and when it's cooling down, they kind of come back together and go into a liquid state, so they're more compacted together, but they still move around, kind of. And yeah, you don't have to apply heat, you just have to let it cool down. So yeah, basically you're not applying heat anymore, you're actually taking it off the stove and letting it cool down, and then it'll start to condensate. Like when you're camping and when you wake up, there's condensation on your tent and stuff like that, if you've ever been camping before. So that's gas to a liquid. Liquid to a solid. The last journey of the ice cubes. The last adventure of the ice cube. I don't know. But a liquid to a solid. If you put your cooled down water in a freezer, it will freeze. That's called solidification. Basically, what's happening is your molecules, they're like kind of waving around. It's kind of like they're freezing together, but they're not. The energy is slowing down, and they're coming back together. So they're not bouncing off each other anymore or sliding around. They're solid. They're stuck together, basically. And so the molecular motion between them is almost none, and the distance is almost none, and the temperature and the energy is, I guess, almost none. But basically, you're freezing something. Like popsicle is a solid. This is the last phase. Well, it's not the last, it's one of the three. But basically that's what happens inside what you're doing, inside your solid or your liquid or your gas or whatever you want. So that's basically the end of our adventure. if we do another project, I will probably talk more, but I doubt it. So, yeah. Bye. Wait, forgot one thing. I need to do this. Peace out. Peace. So this is a solids particles. Basically, you can see they're like vibrating, but they basically cannot move. So what's happening is a solid, it basically, you know what a solid looks like. It's like a phone, piece of paper, a pencil, a water bottle, not the stuff that's inside, but a water bottle, wood, all stuff like that, metal. But all of them have one thing in common. All their particles are almost like glued together. Like their energy is really high that they're like, they're trying to move, but they can't, basically. So this is that's a solids one, and I will show you a liquids one right in a second. Here's a liquids particles. So what's happening here is, as you can see, they're all moving around and scrambled, and it looks like a bunch of spaghetti, but you can't really eat particles because, they're so tiny, microscopic. But here's a liquids particles. Basically what's happening is that if you heat a solid up, the energy, the energy kind of is more, not dense, I guess, but still it's more high, so they kind of detach because it's forcing them, the heat is forcing them to detach and go like that and stuff. And yeah, so that's kind of what it looks like inside a liquid. And here is a gases particles, and heat right now. Here's a gases particles. So basically this is in the gaseous state, I guess, and what's happening here is that they are basically moving around as much as they want. The heat has forced, basically what's happening is the heat has forced them to detach all the way and just move, and they're just bouncing off of each other and everywhere, and it basically looks like a fart in a cartoon, I guess. I don't know, but I guess. And also what's happening is they are, they're moving around and stuff. I guess that's it. That's all they're doing. They're moving around and bouncing off of each other. And the heat is forcing them to separate, so that's what's happening inside. So yeah, the end of my journey. I will show you some more pictures of solids, liquids, and gases, okay? In the next slide, here we go.